everything that could possibly have happened here on the Cobalt stage on the reading night has happened. Nudity to people just yelling at the audience to, you know, every kind of poetry you can imagine, people who are spoken word artists, from form poetry to free form to everything. Everything happens here. If you would like to read tonight and you haven't already done so, please add your name to this list right here, over here at the table. You get up to 7 minutes to read. We call you in the order that you signed up. This is a great place. When people come here who haven't been here before, and in particular people who've been to other venues, they are impressed with the atmosphere of the place. They're impressed with the carpet. They're impressed with the fact that there's a big stage and a good sound system. And so, gosh, I forgot the question.
What do you like about it?
Oh, what do I like about this place? Nothing. No. So all of those things are really cool. It's a great space to have been able to host a reading. And the owner is very supportive of this reading. The owner makes no money on poetry nights and makes his living on every other night of the week. And on many nights, if there's a small attendance or if people don't buy something, he actually loses money just to keep the lights on Tuesday nights. And despite that, for the 13 years that I've been hosting this and the some odd years that it's been going on before that, Dave Politi, who runs this place, has kept this place open, and it's really been a huge gift to the poetry community.
Have you seen poets develop while they've been here as readers and as poets?
I actually saw a poet molt into another life form one night. It was, yeah, actually one of the cool things about hosting this reading is that many people who read here, this is the first place that they've read. Sometimes it's the first place that they've done a featured reading as well. And I've seen a lot of people, young people, high schoolers, come here on and off for years and years and years, and who start out writing one kind of way, and then as a result of hearing different kinds of poetry or reading different kinds of poetry or their life's experiences, there's a visible, a tangible change in their work as well, and it's really cool. It gives me a certain amount of pride, in particular when I see folks who started out here, who read here for the first time, who then become regular participants in the poetry community at large. There's a lot of dynamics amongst poets in Los Angeles, and many of them are very positive, and many people find a kindred spirit in other voices, and many people are influenced by what they hear on the stage or at the microphone, and that could mean they're influenced in the way that they write or who they choose to read, or it could mean that someone at the beginning of the reading read a poem about bananas, and then someone else made a comment about it, and then someone else thinks, oh, I was going to read something else, but I've got this great poem about bananas, so I'm going to read that. So it really happens in a lot of ways. There's a lot of connections that are made. Well, every week there's sort of a different theme. The first Tuesday of the month I present someone who generally is not a regular at the Cobalt Cafe. That the idea being, let's expose the regular Cobalt audience, whoever they may be that week, as well as to someone who doesn't come here. Expand the repertoire of poetry that we're exposed to, and vice versa. I like to bring in people to the Cobalt who will also enjoy listening to the open reading and hearing the work offered. The second Tuesday of the week, I usually present someone who's a regular at the Cobalt Cafe, because everyone deserves an expanded set and should have the chance to really understand what it means to put a featured reading together and have their moment to shine and be elevated as a result of that. The third Tuesday of the month, a group called the Valley Contemporary Poets, who have been together, well, it's different people, but the organization has been in existence since 1980, and they pick a featured poet to present. I was inspired by the Laguna Poets series, which was a reading where every single week on a Friday night in Laguna Beach, they'd invite someone to read, and they would publish a small chapbook, like a whole chapbook, every single week for their reader, and they would sell the books that they're reading, and all the money went to the featured reader, and their featured reader got to take the rest of the books home. And it seemed to me, what a great way to compensate poets without per se having to have, a grant or money to outright pay them. So, I'm a graphic designer by trade, and so I have these skills, and putting these posters together, every week. It is kind of a task, but they look really cool. It doesn't take as long to do one of these as it does to put a whole book together. It's a really wonderful keepsake from the reading, both for the people who participate in the reading and want kind of a souvenir from it, and for the reader themselves. I mean, people are, always seem very appreciative of the fact that this has been made, that they get all the money from them, that they get to take the rest of them home, and it's on top of which it's a great archive of what's happened here. I mean, all of the broadsides, besides being available here, are on the Cobalt Poets website, which is poetrysuperhighway.com/cobalt. I mean, you can look at low-resolution PDFs of them, and then I have this really cool, anthology. This is actually the third portfolio of them. I think the one for tonight is number 133. Well, there are those who say I still haven't gotten started in poetry. I'd always been a writer of sorts. I've always, I guess it started out having I'm sort of an observational poet. I kind of look at things, we all look at things with our own filter. I tend to have this really absurd filter. And so I would often, say these one-liners based on an observation that just seemed very strange and absurd. And occasionally, at one point I thought, I just got to write these things down because people laugh at them when I say them and then they're kind of gone. So I bought a little journal and I just started writing them down, and not thinking that I was doing art or anything of that nature. I was just keeping track of the things that I have said for whatever narcissistic reason that might be. And then, sometimes I started writing things which are a little bit longer, and I saw in the LA Weekly a listing, this is, 1990 maybe, for an event called a poetry circle at a place that used to exist called the Canoga Cafe, which is a local venue that fostered and launched a really tight-knit and expansive group of artists, both poets and writers and singers in LA. People who've gone on to do great things, and people who are still involved in the community. So I thought, maybe I'll go and to this event, and everyone sits in a circle and everyone reads something, and then you talk about it. So I thought, well, I'll go and read something, and they'll tell me, okay, this really isn't poetry, and then I'll know, and I'll be done with it. And so I went and I read a piece, and they laughed, and they thought it was funny and great, and it was very encouraging, and so I thought, oh gosh, I guess I must be a poet. So I kept writing and going to more readings and eventually putting books out and publishing my work in other places, and I started reading more poetry, and the transition from someone who wrote down funny little things that I thought of to someone who had an interest in the art form of poetry and the free form of poetry and other poets just sort of occurred over time.
And you have 10 books or something like that you've published, is that right?
I have 11 books.
Thank you very much. Do you have anything else that you want to say that we haven't covered?
I love animals.